Madam Speaker, on behalf of Uganda and Kumi, I vote no.
Speaker, I vote yes. On behalf of the majority people of Brasha County, I vote yes.
The August House's calibrated role to enforce oversight fell apart last month when the growing embers of the coronavirus pandemic swept across the hallowed grounds of its chambers.
Order.
This came after 10 billion shillings was screamed off the COVID supplementary budget and doled out to MPs, eliciting condemnation as thousands of Ugandans are starving to death.
Our main problem is food now, because many people, they are not working. People are in their rooms.
Fewer than 10 MPs, notably Ntungamo Municipality MP Gerard Karuhanga, Masaka Municipality MP Matthias Mpuga, Nyabishozi County MP Freddie Mwesigi, Charundo East MP Robert Chagulanyi, Irote County South MP Jonathan Odur, and Mityana Municipality MP Francis Zake publicly denounced the money. Karuhanga and Odur subsequently petitioned the High Court in Kampala, which directed mid this week that all MPs refund the money they received through the Parliamentary Commission, ostensibly to fight the coronavirus in their constituencies.
Of generous money.
The appropriation also caught the attention of the president, who has viewed himself as the conductor of the orchestra, crafting a narrative of hope through his periodic television addresses on the pandemic.
This is public money, it's not your private money.
During a rally in President Wakiswa district on whether to retain the movement or adopt a new multi-party system sometime in the year 2000, President Museveni described himself as a chameleon, that he changes positions when situations necessitate. On Tuesday, the president displayed this streak of holding notoriously fickle alliances when he elected to dispense unvarnished criticism, rebuking Parliament for being out of touch with the reality.
It would be morally reprehensible for members of Parliament to give themselves money for personal use when the country is in such a crisis. It would be morally reprehensible and totally unacceptable to me and to the National Resistance Movement.
His salvo placed the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, in the crosshairs. But why would the President choose to openly rebuke the Speaker and a pliant NRM-led Parliament that recently voted to reward him with a life presidency? To some analysts, the 10th Parliament has largely been an appendage, usually pandering to the whims and fancies of the executive.
If you are thinking of where is the corruption in this country, that corruption is bred both within the executive and within Parliament. And that's all that you see right now. And that's why I'm saying that Ugandans need to know we are on our own, because the guys who sit there and look at this budget, and each one of them is looking for their cuts. So the president is looking for his cut because he also has interests. Then the MPs use that and more or less like blackmail him. So for us to give you a cut, we also need ours. And that's the way you see some of these irregular and illegitimate payments coming out.
In turn, the lawmakers have always expected the executive to turn a blind eye to their transgressions.
Yeah, his allies, he can't target us. I think he was ill-advised. I don't think the president wants to target his MPs. We are quite a big force. And he relies on us, the NRM MPs.
The 10 billion shillings was part of the 932 billion shillings supplementary budget passed on April 8th. Of this, 294 billion shillings was for government's multi-sectoral response towards COVID-19. The remaining tranche totaled up to 638 billion shillings, including 400 billion shillings as classified expenditure under the Ministry of Defence's vote, which perhaps Parliament would have been required to conduct further scrutiny of. The 638 billion shillings had, however, been revised upwards by the Ministry of Finance to 749 billion shillings to offset money spent earlier without parliamentary approval. This included 90 billion shillings for State House, 6.9 billion shillings for the Office of the Prime Minister, and 4 billion shillings for the Justice Catherine Bamgemered-led Land Commission of Inquiry, which formally concluded public hearings last November after a 30-month span. It also emerged that the controversial 10 billion shillings was slashed off the Ministry of Health budget from 104 billion shillings to 94 billion shillings. Parliament, however, claims it is they who revised upwards the ministry's budget from 14 billion shillings. The supplementary budget money, Ministry of Finance indicated earlier, was to be removed from a 2.4 trillion shillings loan acquired from Stanbic Bank Uganda and Trade Development Bank. The request for the loan was approved by Parliament earlier this year in February to finance budgetary deficits of this financial ending next month as a result of poor revenue collections and additional expenditure pressures, including non-receipt of World Bank budget support and non-receipt of money to the Petroleum Fund following disagreements between government and the oil companies. Last October, the World Bank maintained a freeze on budgetary support to government over, among other concerns, debt sustainability and failure to implement a raft of policies to operationalize reforms in fiscal policy, energy, and the agriculture sectors, leaving most of the money they lent to the country poorly absorbed. The 2.4 trillion shillings loan, from which the funds for the controversial supplementary budget was removed, will be repaid back in 7 years at an interest of 4.4%. During a news briefing on Thursday, the Speaker Rebecca Kadaga in a repost revealed that billions of shillings had been doled out to other government agencies and ministries, which no one was talking about.
This is that supplementary of 383. The allotments were as follows: Office of the President, East and DC Secretariat, 15 billion. You have got that? Office of the Prime Minister, support to vulnerable persons, 59 billion. That's the one which is buying the expired milk. You're aware that milk is expired, which are serving Ugandans. And the beans, the rotten beans. 59 billion. You should take an interest in that.
But will her gambit pay off? Or is it too late that the reputation of the August House is already in tatters? Well, supplementary budgets have become a norm, especially when financial years are about to close. There's a contestation on whether Parliament abided by the procedures to allocate itself the 10 billion shillings. For example, a review of the House Budget Committee report, which discussed the supplementary request by Minister of Finance, indicates that the 10 billion shillings was not itemized anywhere. Ntungamo Municipality MP Gerard Karuhanga, who challenged the appropriation of the funds in court, told NTV that the entire scheme smacked of fraud.
What surprised us is that Parliament did not choose to touch the rest of the 800 billion that we passed out today, but went for the Ministry of Health budget of 104, picked 10 billion for parliamentarians, and reduced the one of Ministry of Health from 104 to 94 billion. That also left me with a very, very disturbing thinking. And I was wondering, in these times of a very threatening pandemic, how on earth can one imagine that instead of empowering our hospitals, especially across the country, the regional hospitals, establishing the intensive cares that we may need, how can one decide to have this money for oneself?
He revealed that nearly all MPs present at the passing of the supplementary budget did not know about this allocation.
When he finishes his presentation, he invites me to present a minority report. As soon as I begin, to my disappointment, the interjections, the chaos, the noise ensue, and Parliament literally turns into a very dramatic scene. And I'm thinking, members, wait, I have already said that we completely disassociate ourselves from this amendment of the 10 billion shillings that the chairman has just said, because we are hearing of it for the first time. I tried to read the report. There was no room. The members who are supporting me, they stand by my side. The rest of the House is standing up, and noise is all over the place. And the only thing I hear, the Speaker says, I put the question, the ayes, and then says the ayes have it.
He argues that the manner in which the budget was passed contravened Parliament's own rules of procedure. Karuhanga instructed his bank on Wednesday to return the money he termed illegitimate back to the consolidated fund in Bank of Uganda. Likewise, Nyabishozi County MP Freddie Mwesige said the decision was morally wrong.
Because my conscience told me that this is wrong. We should not even proceed with the idea. And the meeting ended, and after a day or two, the thing came back. We were arranged through the commission.
With Parliament facing a flag from the public, the Speaker of Parliament found herself in a spot of bother to justify the expenditure, First, she claimed that the money was meant to buy fuel and pay drivers for the 270 ambulances owned by MPs, which were borrowed by Ministry of Health to reinforce the emergency response system. NTV has however established that the Ministry of Health had agreed to meet all daily expenditures of running the ambulances. The Speaker then later changed goalposts, saying the money was meant to facilitate MPs' mobilization and sensitization against coronavirus in their constituencies. However, each district was allocated at least 165 million shillings for the same purpose. This is besides the 16 billion shillings appropriated to RDCs through the Office of the Prime Minister. Upon the prompting of the Speaker in the House last week, the Attorney General offered his opinion on the litigation process, which was however at variance with Kadaga's views.
The court decision in and of itself is binding on the parties to the suit and also on the members of Parliament until it is reversed or until the court gives further guidance. And in accordance with Article 128 of our Constitution, subsection 3, it is incumbent upon both the government and the Parliament to ensure that that court order is respected. This is in addition to the fact that any action to the contrary by a person to whom that court order applies would expose that person to a contempt of court.
But I beg to differ with you. The status quo upon which the court ruled was that money had already been sent out. That is the status quo which should be maintained. There was no money in the commission at that time. It had been sent out by the time the suit was filed. The suit was filed on the 21st. The money was paid on the 17th. I want you to understand that. So the status quo that the court eventually talked about is that the money had already gone. And for you to say that a court can garnish the accounts of members who are not party to a suit is something that we should really avoid. Members of Parliament were not party to this suit. The court had no business to interfere with their accounts.
At a news conference on Thursday, Kadaga said there was a targeted onslaught against the legislature.
Concerned that we are being attacked by the executive, and we are going to take appropriate action on that issue as well. We are three arms of government. We all have our responsibilities under the Constitution, and we are carrying out our responsibilities. So there should be no undue interference in our work, as long as we follow the Constitution.
With the dominant numbers of the ruling party MPs, the executive has often co-opted the rubber stamp parliament to pass questionable policies like the new lower secondary school education curriculum and loans and supplementary expenditures, whose accountability usually remain concealed. For instance, over the last 5 financial years, Parliament has passed a staggering 2.6 trillion shillings as classified vote for the defense sector, but whose accountability is yet to come to the fore. During the controversial age limit debate, the MPs removed Article 102 on the age limit in the Constitution to allow President Museveni, who would have been ineligible to stand for presidency, to contest again.
On behalf of the people of the district and Uganda, I vote yes.
Inasmuch as MPs received 29 million shillings each for the age limit consultations, they also awarded themselves a 7-year term, up from 5 years, on ground that they needed time to finish parliamentary business for the development of Uganda, which the Constitutional Court later annulled. Karuhanga said MPs are quite naive and don't learn from their past mistakes.
But then again, that's what I normally tell our colleagues. The other day when he promised them 2 years for changing the Constitution, we told them, this is a lie, it's a pack of lies. Members, let's maintain our Constitution. You will not get those 2 years.
Nixon Ogwal, the Director of Programs at Action Aid Uganda, told NTV that MPs have an oversight role, but have failed to live up to their expectations.
MPs use 10 billion to abdicate their constitutional responsibility of providing oversight and holding the executive accountable. It is akin to Judas taking the 30 pieces of silver and betraying Jesus. Or let me even put it very simply. If a guard takes 50,000 shillings to allow robbers to clean a property of 50 billion, it is shameful, if not criminal, for such a security guard to begin to argue that I only took 50,000 shillings, and that was it. And these people who have looted in billions, you're not looking at them.
He said that the MP's defense of delivering food to the vulnerable poor and service delivery is the mandate of the central government, for which they should be holding it accountable.
It is actually true that Ugandans require support because those who lived on a daily basis of income are no longer capable of raising that income. But that is not a mandate of the MPs to pick money from the national coffers and go and distribute it. It is not. Well, it is also true that the people are asking from them. But it is because they have taught the people to ask from them, beginning with their campaigns when they would promise that, vote me into this office of MP, I will pay your school fees, I'll attend all burials.
With the approval ratings of the 10th Parliament languishing in the basement, the decision to return the funds to the consolidated fund is akin to a referendum by the disillusioned electorate to vote out those with selfish interest.